Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. It is a great honor for me to welcome our guests who've come from far and from near. I welcome the honorable ministers from Kenya, members of parliament from Kenya, from Ethiopia, from Djibouti, guests from the international community, and all who have come today to fight this harmful practice that harms our children, our girls, our women, and our families. I'm honored to have His Excellency, the Minister of the Interior of the Republic of Somaliland, as well as other ministers and vice ministers of my great country, Somaliland. And by the way, for those who've come from elsewhere, be happy. You're in Somaliland. You are not in Somalia. I welcome you all, and I welcome your support for this campaign to end FGM. This goes back a long way. I also would like to recognize and welcome Honorable Minister Buri Esman, our former Minister of Health. I'm honored to have your presence. And for all those who I have forgotten, my daughter Fatima, who's always an inspiration, and all who I have forgotten to welcome. You're all welcome. But then let's not waste time welcoming each other, because we have a very heavy task ahead of us. Est-ce qu'il y a des Djiboutiennes ici? Est-ce qu'il y a une délégation de la République de Djibouti? Djibouti يا كسعادة طلو شيخ كسعادة شيخ welcome أهلا وسهلا أهلا كسر دبو وطن كاجي لبعض. Djibouti aad baan u jeclaa waddankan ku soo koray marka sharaf bay ii tahay inaan kugu soo dhaweeyo Somaliland. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight against FGM goes back a long way. It goes back well over 50 years ago. In fact, 64 years ago, when I returned from my training in the United Kingdom, where I had been delivering women, I was surprised to see that the women who I was assisting during the labor and delivery in my country, Somaliland, were going through far more complications than the ones I was delivering in the United Kingdom. I was delivering Turks who were Muslim. I was delivering Iranians who were Muslim. I was delivering Egyptians who were Muslim, and many other nations who are Muslim, but whose anatomy and whose body was intact, was not damaged. But when I returned to Somaliland in 1961, I was suddenly confronted with an anatomy of the woman that had been so damaged that it was causing delays in the progress of the childbirth. It was causing more pain to the woman. It was causing more complications and tears and lacerations and needed episiotomies and sutures and cuts that other women in the world did not have. But then, I'm a Somali woman, and my family put me through, I'm Muslim, and I, at age 8, had gone through that process, that the female circumcision, which is what we called at that time. So I did not dare to speak about it. I was ashamed to speak about female genital organs, because in our country you don't do that. You don't talk about genitals, you don't talk about circumcision and private parts of the woman. But then in 1976, after going through a lot of emotional stress, going to work every day and delivering women and touching and cutting and suturing and repairing damage in these women, and yet not being able to speak about it. It was very painful. But in 1976, I was honored to go to Sudan and attend a conference in Sudan on women's health. And I was with 2 Somali male medical doctors. So during that conference, when many issues were being discussed, health issues, a very highly respected professor got up and made a presentation about female circumcision. And that was the first time I had heard the word coming out of the mouth of somebody in public. And I had a male Somali doctor to my right, and a male Somali doctor to my left, and female genitals were being spoken about, and pictures were being put on the wall for 400, 500 people to look at. And I was embarrassed, and I was ashamed, and I didn't know where to look. But what was being described was exactly the pain that I had suffered, the pain that I had seen women delivering go through. And I heard for the first time that female circumcision was contrary to the teachings of Islam. So if it was contrary to the teachings of Islam, why are we practicing female circumcision in Somaliland when we are all Muslim? Why are we damaging girls? Why are we endangering the lives of the newborn babies? And that is when I learned that the women in Sudan had passed, that Sudan had passed a law in 1947 to ban female circumcision. That is where I learned that women in Saudi Arabia are not circumcised. Women in all the Muslim countries that we know of are not circumcised. Women in Mecca and Medina, where we go for our pilgrimage, are not circumcised. So why are we doing it? And that is when I got the information that this practice of female circumcision is a traditional old practice that is even before our religion, Islam. It was a practice that was started by the pharaohs 4,000 years ago. So why are we promoting what the pharaohs started? Why are we promoting what Islam forbids? Why are we endangering the lives of our daughters? But I didn't know how to go about this. And it was in 1976, after I returned from the Sudan, that a great minister of health, Allah yarhamuh, Musa Rabila God, was my minister of health at that time, and sent me to a conference in Mogadishu for women to speak about health. And I said, sure. But then this time, Minister, I'm going to speak about FGM. And that was the first time the word had come out of my mouth, and I said it to a Somali man. And he was somebody whose children I delivered. I think I delivered 3 or 4 of his children. So it was somebody I knew very well, his wife, his kids. And he said, Edna, you can't do that. You can't speak about FGM. You're the daughter of Dr. Adan Ismail. You're the former First Lady of the country. You can't speak about that. And I said, well, Mr. Minister, if I don't speak about it, then who will? And I must speak about this. And he said, no, please talk about polio, talk about malaria, talk about whooping cough, and the usual things you like to talk about. I said, no, this time I'm going to talk about FGM. So 48 years ago, in 1976, almost 50 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, That's when we started fighting FGM. In 78, 79, 90, 80, WHO made me the special representative for harmful traditional practices. I was a special advisor on those. That's when we developed the coin mutilation, because before that it was female circumcision. Now it's female genital mutilation. These were the years when we used to demonstrate in New York, in the United Nations. That's when we spoke about it in Beijing, in Copenhagen, in Cairo, in Nairobi. That's when we spoke about it in New York and Washington, and when we picketed governments and embassies if they did not support FGM. That is when countries would deny us a conference hall to speak about FGM because it was considered a cultural practice in Africa that they did not want to get involved with. In 1995, as a WHO rep in Djibouti, I was honored to see Djibouti being the first country that bans FGM in 1995. Law number 9555 was passed in Djibouti. That became the second country in Africa. Sudan, 1947, Djibouti, 1995. In 1996, it was the first time we spoke about FGM in Somaliland, here in Somaliland, at the Hargeisa Club. Some of you are probably here. In 2002, when I was made Minister of Social Affairs and Family Development, as the first female Minister of Somaliland, Cabinet Minister, where I appointed the first female Director General, one of the main items on our agenda was to fight female genital mutilation. That was 24 years ago. And the clock is still ticking. And little girls are still being mutilated. Little girls are still being cut. Little girls and women are being brought to us at 10 and 11 o'clock at night with injuries and bleeding as a result of a circumcision that was done to them that morning, that day, with a bladder up to here, with bleeding, having bled pints of blood. This is something that must stop. We cannot be responsible people. We cannot be responsible governments if we allow 50% of our population to suffer pain and complications when there should be a law that protects them. Where is the international community in this role? Yes, you spend money giving us shawls and caps and holding receptions and conferences in conference hall. I need to see a more concrete contribution. I need more support for education of our women. I need more support in the health care of our women. Teach us how to save lives. This is not going to save a life. A cap is not going to save a life. Every conference, I see money spent on useless items that have no bearing on saving a life. Spend that money on grassroots campaigns, education of women. Give Somaliland and Somaliland women that opportunity to rise up and join the fight against FGM, because we started it. And we need to be the first to end it. And we need to join the ranks of people and governments and nations like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Morocco and Tunisia and Afghanistan and Iran and all the Muslim countries who do not practice FGM. Don't let us kill that little girl, the potential of that little girl who we carried for 9 months. And we brought to this world because we want her to bring us children. Don't let us damage her. Don't let us put her through something that she should not be gone through. One of the things that I would like to speak about is in Somaliland, we are proud to have a law that it's in our constitution that protects women and girls against harmful practices. I need that article in our law, in our constitution, to specifically ban female circumcision or female genital mutilation. Let us call it by its rightful name: damage to the women's reproductive organs, because that's exactly what it is. I would like to see more support for universities. I want to see more support from the mothers of tomorrow. I want to see more support for education and health care. But when I stand next to somebody who has spent more money on conferences than on health care, my conscience talks to me and says, this is not fair. We need to do it in a way that we join hands, and I need the fathers of these little girls to join this battle. I need religious leaders to join this battle. Teach us that this is contrary to the teachings of Islam. Fathers of these girls must lead the campaign. Religious leaders must lead the campaign. Not little old ladies like me, but scholars, theologians, ministers, fathers, responsible adults must join this battle. Now, I would really like to congratulate the Ministry of Family Welfare for having organized this, and I hope that next year it's going to show us some numbers of achievements that we have made. I should have brought it with me, but we've developed a small brochure in English and Somali that hopefully tries to counsel people against practicing FGM. Let us develop more. Let us be creative. Let us be sincere. Let us join hands with people like councillors and members of parliaments from Kenya and Ethiopia and Djibouti and wherever they're fighting this battle. Let us win this battle. Don't let us spend time on Somalia, that is one of among the 5 poorest countries in the world, Somalia, who still wants to wage wars in the world, when it is one of the 5 poorest countries in the world. Spend that little energy on protecting your people, and let us protect the wealth and the progress that God has given us on making Somaliland even better than it is now. I'm proud to be a Somalilander because I'm proud of the achievements that Somaliland has made. But this is a work in progress. This is a work that is waiting for us. We must succeed to fight that. And I don't think there's need to translate this, because every single one of you understands what I've said. So I don't want to waste time. And I thank you all for your attention and for your moral support. But now I need tangible support. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
aad iyo aad baad mahadsantahay.